Hello, hello, hello. Happy Thursday. I'm so happy to be here with you who are joining in. Um, I hope you are doing great. If you're joining me live, please say hello. I want to connect with you. I want some love. I want to give you some love. I want to know there's another human being that I'm talking to, that I'm not just talking to my computer screen. So I would really appreciate it if you comment and say hi. And if you're watching the replay, make sure that you comment hashtag replay so I know that you're also watching and I can give you some love and get your virtual love as well. So today I am going to be sharing. Hey Sarah, so good to see you. What's up, girlfriend? So today I am going to be sharing about um, about these five, and I call them secrets because I feel like it has taken me so many years um, to really get to this place. And as I wrote this down, I took it from my own life and also coaching a lot of women, and we're going to talk about these five secrets that really have you be fulfilled in your marriage, in your relationship. And we have this idea when before we get married that we're going to find the one. And finding the one is like this dream that most of us have. And somehow we think that once this one is going to come along and he's going to sweep us off our feet, that we're going to be happy and we're going to be saved and we're going to live this happily ever after dream, right? Or at least we hope for this reality. And we learn this in books and we watch movies as little girls and we hear it from our friends or whoever, and you just like have these ideals. And what I've discovered through my own marriage and through coaching many, many women on their relationships is that it just takes so much more to have a real connection, to have real fulfillment in your relationship. So, how many of you that are watching agree with me on this? Like, do you agree that it takes so much more than just, meeting someone, getting married, having the babies, if you have babies, and then you discover, and it's just this big surprise that we discover, and it's not what we expect, and it's not what we think it's going to take, right? So, I'm going to look to see. I have so who's here with me joining in? Make sure that you say hello. Sometimes it's so delayed. So I'm just going to keep going so I don't bore the ones that are watching. So today I really want to uncover what it really takes. Because now, 15 years of being with my husband and going through many breakdowns and being tested by so many circumstances, I can truly say that him and I have created a really deep, authentic relationship that now we get to share with other women. And I'm so passionate about supporting other women in their marriages. And after doing so much of my own work and working with women, I really, I'm excited. I'm excited to uncover these quote unquote secrets. Okay, so let's just kind of dive in and start with the first one. So the first thing that I would say that really leads to a joyful and fulfilling marriage is for you to feel joy for yourself, to find your own happiness first before anything. I hear from so many women, that like my husband doesn't make me happy and he, being with him is not making me happy and so on. And the first thing that I always, and something I've discovered in my own journey is you cannot make others responsible for your happiness. You can't. You have to find it for yourself first, right? And when you do this, when you really truly like get on this journey of finding that fulfillment for yourself, your partner will be a joy to be with rather than somebody that needs to be a certain way or needs to make you happy. And this is a priority. Like finding your own happiness is the priority. So there's some ideas that I'll give you. Who's joining me? Say hello. Make sure I see some people joining in. So say hello. My daughter just came in. Hey, I'm doing this live. I'm talking about to women. I'm talking about finding your own happiness.
Hi, Mom.
Say hi. Okay. So, and I teach this to my daughters too. I have 2 little cute daughters, and I teach them this all the time, right? When they ask us about, hold on, babe. Please go be with your daddy.
Okay. Love you, Mommy.
I love you too, baby. Thank you.
Lipstick. Lip gloss.
And I teach this, to my girls that are constant, like, Mommy, you have to, when they're unhappy, they're expecting us to do something about it. And we do this, right? Like when we're unhappy, when we're upset, we expect our husbands to do something about it. And there's nothing that they're going to be able to do until we have the commitment to find that joy, to find that happiness within ourselves. So, some of the ways that I do that and that I just little tactics is like just every day when you wake up, you can ask yourself, or maybe write yourself a note, on your mirror, on a post-it, how am I going to feel happy today? Like what truly makes me happy? I have this journal, 52 things that make me happy. And I literally I fill it out and I look it over. And I have little things that sometimes in those days where I'm not feeling that great, I go back and I look. So I ask myself, how am I going to make myself happy today? Like truly. I know it might sound cheesy, but really. And then write down at least 3 things that make you happy on a daily basis. Whether it's just having, a nice cup of coffee or reading a book or whatever that is. Really being responsible for making yourself happy. And I know there's a lot, deeper work that you can do that we can talk about for hours. But these are just little steps in the day-to-day that you can do. Okay, then another way that is going to shift your mood completely is just writing down 3 things that you're grateful and excited about. So just have a little journal by your nightstand or by your, bed. And in the morning when you wake up, you can write down 3 things that you feel excited about for the day or that you're grateful for. And you can do this first thing in the morning, and you can even keep it somewhere where you can see it throughout the day. So when something happens or a breakdown happens, I guarantee it, if you keep these thoughts, if you keep these feelings going, right, and you're taking action on it, when something breaks down, when you have an argument with your husband or whatever, the impact is not going to be this, big blow up, but you're going to feel ready for it. So this is just a way for you to be able to really manage and take control of your context. We talked a lot about context last week in the challenge if you participated. So you bring the context of joy to just the everyday activities that you have to do. And maybe those activities don't bring you joy, but you bring the context of joy and fulfillment and happiness into those activities. So, for example, if you don't enjoy doing the dishes, you can bring the context of joy to doing the dishes in a way that, you think of ways, well, how can I make this more enjoyable? How can I make this actually fun? I'll turn on a podcast when I'm doing dishes or doing housework, or I love just turning on some music that makes me really happy, and I'll do that. So you shift the context to bring that context of joy and fulfillment to whatever situation that, whatever is going on in your daily activities. And what happens is when you bring that into your home, when you bring that into your relationship, your husband totally feels that energy. Your whole family feels that energy. And what I find, it's like a domino effect. You know, my husband, like I don't get as pissed off at him. My kids are behaving differently. I mean, I just they feel my energy. They feel that I am just a joy to be around, right? Rather than like surviving. So this is the one thing that I think is huge. It sounds really simple, and sometimes, we don't realize how much of a difference it makes, these little steps that we take. Okay? So that's the first thing, is really being responsible for your happiness day in and day out. And really waking up every day and asking yourself, what am I going to do today and who am I going to be? No matter what. So the second thing that I want to talk to you about is this concept of taking 100% responsibility for your relationship. Okay? I know that a lot of times we talk about relationships being 50-50. And I think a lot of people have this misconception. Like, he's doing 50% of the work and I'm doing 50% of the work. What I believe and what I share and talk to the women in my programs about is, no, every person is 100% responsible for their relationship. This is your relationship. You are the one who chose to get married. You are the one who chose to be with your husband. You are the one who chose to have a family, right? And it's like, duh, obviously, but we don't relate to our relationships like that. I know I don't. A lot of times I survive it and I'm like, oh, they're doing this to me and I'm such a victim of it. And I don't have any power when I'm being a victim of my relationship, of my family, and of whatever else I have to do. And responsibility isn't something that you are, it's something that you actually do. It's an action that you take. Most people, we think that responsibility is about who's at fault and who's to blame, and we attach this morality to it, right? Like, it's his fault. No, it's your fault, and it's this whole thing that we do in relationships. However, taking responsibility is you getting out of being this victim and actually being responsible for your reactions, for your actions, and these, stories that you tell yourself about whatever is happening in your marriage, right? Like, we are responsible for that. And we tell the stories that we tell about the circumstances that we have. Nobody else is telling them. So we are responsible for it. And it's extremely empowering for you and for your partner, because you actually get to say how your relationship goes. My kiddos are running around, if you can hear them. So you are the only one responsible for that in your marriage, in your relationship, in your life, right? Like, you are the one who's responsible for your life. And that is honestly the biggest, I would say, thing that, like, for me in my marriage, the biggest practice that I take on all the time. I'm always asking myself, who am I being? When my husband is being a jerk, like, how am I responsible for? And like I said before, I'm not saying that I'm responsible for his actions. What I'm saying is I'm responsible for my reactions and my actions. He's responsible for his part, but I'm responsible for what I allow in my relationship, for what I don't allow, for how I react, for the stories I tell. Like, he might be a jerk, and I'm responsible for how I interpret it. I'm responsible for the context. Remember, the lens, the view. This is, if, like I said before, if you participate in the challenge, I talked a lot about that. The context is your lens for how you view things. So you are responsible for your view of your relationship and of any circumstance that comes at you. Okay? So always asking yourself, how am I responsible, is super empowering. And it gives you access to actually doing something about it rather than, sitting in like he's doing this to me mode, right? That doesn't give you access to anything. It actually just has you stay stuck in whatever, is going on, whatever complaint that you have about your husband, about your relationship, okay? So, who's with me? Say hello if you're watching this. I want to see who's here. Okay, so the third thing that I think is so big in the relationship, and it's so important, and we hear about this all the time, but really like the practice of gratitude. And it's so, we talk about it, I think, in our society, especially lately with, this whole like mindfulness kick that everybody, well, hopefully, I mean, all my friends are on, like everybody's talking about, being mindful and meditation and gratitude and writing in a gratitude journal. But, what happens in a long-term relationship is that it's so easy and it's such a like natural thing for us to just focus on everything that's not working. And, the truth is we take each other for granted and we focus mostly on complaints, that we have about each other. Like, I know that if I don't stop and if I don't distinguish it, I'm just going to look for things that my husband isn't doing or things he, is doing wrong. Or in my head, I'm like complaining of how I don't know, he didn't do what he said he was going to, whatever it is, right? And the more you focus on these complaints, the worse you're going to feel about your partner. And those thoughts actually create feelings that have you not, feel very connected to your husband. And these feelings actually, over time, when you don't actually distinguish it, when you don't stop yourself from these complaints, and when you're always focused on the negative, those feelings grow into this resentment and unfulfillment. So you expressing gratitude and focusing on what you're grateful for, in your partner, like literally it's a practice, okay? It takes something. You have to stop and actually really focus on, even if it's like the tiniest little things that you can find that you really appreciate about him. And then when you express it to him, when you say those words out loud regularly, it creates this space. It's a magic space. I have in my Transform Your Marriage program, we have a week where the women literally practice expressing gratitude to their husbands. And that week is the most magical week of the whole 3-month program, because what happens, and they report this time after time after time, that men start showing up and they start doing things for the women and they start asking them what they need and they start helping. And like, I mean, I've heard so many amazing magical things happen that you guys would not believe it. So, just if you have a complaint that you need to address and, you're like, well, I need to tell him this. I can't just always be telling him how great he is. Just start with gratitude. Start with how much your partner means to you, or start just with that appreciation, right? And it's, like I said, it's a practice that, we constantly have to kind of turn off that mind that's always in the complaining mode, right? Let's be honest. It is. In a relationship, we're always in that mode of like, what's wrong? What's not working? What's not working? We're always focusing on that. So we have to stop. We have to turn it off. And we have to really be conscious and mindful and ask, like, what is working? What can I be grateful about? And actually express it. And I invite you to really start practicing this, like today. Like, go and express your gratitude. And the more you do this, the more magic happens in your marriage and the more fulfilled you feel, and just even energetically something shifts inside of you. I promise you. Okay? So that's the third thing. So then the fourth thing that, I think is really hard for a lot of us in relationships and is really huge and makes such a difference is being honest and open with your partner about everything. Like even the most uncomfortable things that you don't want to talk about, really being committed to having that in your relationship. Okay. Here's the thing, if you desire to have deep intimacy and connection with your husband, this, being open and honest with him about everything really creates an opportunity for that. And I encourage you to really start peeling back those layers and doing it for you. A lot of times we're afraid to talk to our husbands about, certain things and be really honest and open for them because we are afraid of how they're going to react. And when, we're afraid of like it's going to cause conflict. We're going to feel ashamed. We're going to feel certain ways, or they're going to get upset or whatever, right? There's all these things. That's why a lot of times we don't share everything with our partners. And what I mean by sharing everything, I'm talking about like, not like just the deep down dirty secrets, but like, look, I was making you wrong about, not taking out the trash, like that kind of vulnerability. Or, hey, I really want to talk to you about something, but I'm really afraid because I feel like you're going to get really upset with me and we're going to get into an argument, and I really deeply want to connect with you. And I really want to spend time with you. So like those are the kinds of conversations that I'm talking about, right? And of course, if you feel like you can definitely share with him about stuff you haven't shared, but I'm just saying like in the day to day, really being open with him and really like super vulnerable. And here's the other thing about that is first you have to be open and vulnerable and truthful with yourself. Okay. A lot of times we kind of put these colored glasses on and we don't want to see our own truth. And that's the first step. If you want to, have that vulnerability with your husband, you have to be vulnerable and honest with yourself. And, an opportunity that like what I do to really, because sometimes, when we're busy in the day, we don't really even know what the truth is. We don't even realize our stuff. So, there's some exercises that you can do. You can journal. And I have women in my in the program, in the Transform Your Marriage program. We do a lot of journaling. We do a lot of deep work to uncover, stuff that usually we don't look at when we're just going day to day. And then we wonder, like, why don't we have this connection with our husband? So in the Transform Your Marriage program, I really have them look deep and really like uncover stuff that is underneath the issues, the problems, the complaints, and all of that. And then have them share that with their partners. And in a way, I train them in how to share that in a very safe way. Because I get that being truthful sometimes doesn't feel safe. And for women, our number one thing is we want to feel safe. That's the number one thing with our men. We want to feel safe. So there is a way to open up and talk to them, and still feel safe. And I teach you that in the Transform Your Marriage program, which if you want to know more about that amazing program, you can DM me and I'll give you more information. But really the point is like, this is one of the keys to having fulfillment in your marriage, is really being truthful, open, and honest about everything. Okay. So, and then I'm just like, I'm so moved because I really, when I share this stuff with you guys, I really look at my own marriage and how my husband and I, like, we practice every one of these. And it's been, years in the making where we've practiced this. And I'm like, wow, like there is nothing that my husband and I don't communicate about. And there's so much freedom in that. And it's like you create this love that actually lasts for years and is sustainable. And you teach your kids to do that. So yeah, I'm just like, wow, I'm really inspired by that, by the kind of relationship that you get to have when you have that kind of vulnerability and truth. Okay, so the fifth thing that I want to talk about is making your relationship a priority. Really, like your partnership with your husband, your marriage, making it a priority. And this one I know is hard, especially for moms, right? Or if you have a career, because your partner is just there a lot of times. And a lot of times we just, take them for granted. And, vice versa. I'm not saying this is just women. So, but right now I'm talking to the women. So, it's like being responsible for your marriage that I talked about earlier. So, if you really want a happy relationship, then you really have to put that time and energy into it. And you have to, you know, water this garden. This is a great metaphor. If you don't water a garden, those flowers are going to die. So if you're not putting your time and your energy, which is so sacred, into the marriage, into your family, that marriage is slowly going to start dying. So, relationships, they really, anything, I mean, this is something that I've learned, anything that you want to grow needs that attention, because it's not going to grow and it's not going to evolve. You're going to stay stuck. Okay, and then one day you wake up and you're like, I'm not in love with him anymore. Like, I'm not connected to him anymore. And I hear this a lot from women. So I invite you to make your marriage a priority. And, really take every day to connect with your partner, even if it's like a coffee date. My husband and I actually do little coffee dates where we just sit down and we have a cup of coffee and we ask each other about our day, or like we'll meditate together in the morning. And even like, that 15 minutes where we meditate together, it really makes such a difference. And what I mean by like really make it intentional, it's not just like sit down and watch a TV show. I'm talking about like connecting and actually talking to each other and actually asking each other like questions about who are you. And a lot of times I'll post connecting questions, but really like connecting on a deep level and being intentional with your time. um, your kids, if you have kids, they're not going to remember the kind of food you fed them. They're not going to remember the kind of, activities they do. They're going to remember and they're going to model the relationship that you and your husband had that they saw growing up. And this is, if you really think about like, you learned from your parents. So your kids, they're learning from you. And if you're not making your marriage a priority, they're learning that that's not really important. So this, you know, is really huge. Just really giving your sacred time and your sacred energy to your relationship on a daily basis is really like, you're going to feel so good and he's going to feel so good. And it creates like, it grows that connection over time. Okay. And then you create this really strong foundation and bond for you guys to have that lasting love, for the rest of your lives that you're together. So let's see, hi Zadira. So I'm going to end on that note. Those are the 5 things, and here I'll do a really quick recap on the 5 things. So what we talked about is, first thing is we talked about really finding your joy and happiness for yourself as a woman, and really like making that your priority all the time. Really finding that fulfillment within yourself. So that's the first thing. Second thing is taking 100% responsibility for your life, for your marriage, like owning your relationship, like you have a say in how it goes, and really coming from that place. Okay. Number 3 is gratitude, expressing gratitude to your husband, really focusing on gratitude, writing it down, what you're grateful for every day inside of your relationship and your life. I mean, it really makes a difference all around. So the 4th thing is being honest and open about everything, even about the uncomfortable stuff. and really being vulnerable and honest with your partner. And then the fifth thing is making your relationship a priority and giving it your sacred time and energy, and really like making that a commitment that you have every day. Okay, so those are the 5 things. I teach so much more of this inside of the Transform Your Marriage program. If you're interested about finding out more, I'm actually open for enrollment for the next program that starts on January 4th. So if you guys are interested in finding out more, DM me. I'm happy to share all the details with you. I'm really excited for all the women that signed up, and I'm super excited to make that difference right now during this crazy time that we're with our partners all the time. So anyways, DM me if you want more info. I'm happy to share it with you. Thank you so much for watching, and I will be here again on Thursday next week at 4 p.m. Every Thursday, I am here live sharing, knowledge with you about how to transform your marriage. So join me, put it in your calendar, come hang out with me. I would love to see you. And that is it, my friends, and I will see you next week. Okay, thank you. Bye.